Man, 2022 is starting to be kind of a little. It's starting to kind of piss me off already. Betty White. Now, Bob Saget.
Was she 22? Or is she like 21? She was like right there.
I count it all. It's right there.
She was kind of in between.
It was right there. Check this out.
And I don't see that as a negative.
And we want to get back to that breaking news on the death of comedian Bob Saget in Orlando, Florida. We have entertainment reporter Josh McBride on the phone with us. So, Josh, are you there?
I am, yeah.
Thank you so much for making the time for us. And this comes as a shock to so many tonight. What is your reaction?
Look, a big loss for the entertainment community. You know, if you were a child or a teenager in the 90s, you will remember Bob Saget, of course, as his famous role as Danny Tanner on Full House. This is a big loss, especially for the comedy community. We don't know much. We do know that the Orange County Sheriff Office did put out a tweet less than an hour ago. People were skeptical about what he had passed from. We're not sure yet. They do say, quote, the man was identified as Robert Saget and pronounced deceased on scene. Detectives found no signs of foul play or drug use in this case. If you don't know him from Full House, you know him from America's Funniest Home Videos or How I Met Your Mother. This is a big loss.
Yeah, and talk about his mark on Hollywood, because he was so dynamic, right? He was raunchy, he did adult comedy, he was inappropriate at times, but so funny, and yet he was America's favorite dad.
Absolutely. And we grew up with him as America's favorite dad. I talked to a couple of sources that are close to him and his family, and they're absolutely devastated. We grew up with him making jokes, and also making jokes off of Full House, or Fuller House, rather, that pushed the barriers of comedy. This is a big loss for I feel like comedians, because he was an icon, especially in this space. People who may be new to Bob Saget, and they shouldn't be, they might have seen him on The Masked Singer in 2020. He actually had dates lined up through June for this tour that he's on right now, the I Don't Do Negative tour. So this is really, it comes as a shock, really.
And what were his latter days like? I mean, we kind of remember him from the 90s. As you said, everyone who grew up in the 90s knows him as his Full House character. And we knew that he was a comedian later. But what was his life like, over the past decade or so?
Yeah, well, he did join the cast of Fuller House when Full House did do the revamp. I think that's important to mention, because that was such a big success on Netflix. He did a lot of documentaries where he popped in sort of to one-off episodes here and there. I mentioned How I Met Your Mother. He did that. In 2014, he was actually nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album. I mean, this guy kind of had TV and comedy on lock. This is what he did. And I feel like he was one of those actors who really could walk on any comedic television show and get a cameo role if he wanted. This was the person who pushed the boundaries and the limits of comedy. You might remember him. He was also in Madagascar in 2000.
Universal. It's that Universal plug, little piece. That's awesome.
Before we say anything, let's just say rest in peace, condolences, prayers to his family. Please be respectful at this time for them as they go through this tough time, as everybody's going through this tough time. Like I said, man,
I feel like we mourn the star, the comedian. Right. But then
they mourn the dad, the brother.
Husband, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And that's like a double, that's a different type of a pain and a hole to feel,
Bob Saget, a.k.a. Danny Tanner. Like they said, TV dad. I know you grew up on
Full House, yeah.
Full House.
When I got the alert last night, me and the boys, I was like, man, that was my show. And I had to watch it. You came upstairs. And
I came upstairs. I found out a little earlier that day, and I hadn't seen you. So when I came upstairs, you was sitting in a chair and you was just slumped over, like sad, watching the old reruns, because that was like your TV dad.
I had to bring my boys up to speed. Like, y'all don't understand, no, this is real stuff here.
I don't know if you remember when me and you got together, you had a DVD pack of Full House. You had the whole season of Full House you had. I remember that.
Yep.
Like you was definitely.
Yep. That was my show.
You was definitely a Bob Saget. Now for me, I didn't as much watch Full House, but America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah.
That's where I locked into him. You know what I mean? That was my show. I loved that show growing up. So yeah, man, he worked his way into everybody's hearts, everybody's homes. You know what I mean? He gave that father figure style. You know, you felt like you was getting chastised or you was getting talked to or sitting down having a conversation from Bob Saget when he just had a way of talking to those girls and them
absolutely
in those real life situations.
He was like the one man that actually like cooked and cleaned and like he had it together. Like, and I remember telling the boys about the episode where he was cleaning his cleaners and organizing them, and they were like, "What?" I'm like, y'all talk about me? Like, nah, y'all don't understand. Like,
it was crazy around that time though. Like those were the shows for me. Like we were saying last night, it was, you remember Full House. Mm-hmm. You remember I was a Cosby kid. I was a Family Matters guy. I watched that. Saved by the Bell. All that was around that time, and it was that kind of TV going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was wholesome. You didn't hear words like you hear on TV now. You could say certain words on TV now that you couldn't say or utter or hear. You didn't hear back then.
Back then, I remember I used to get in trouble for watching The Simpsons. My grandmother did not play.
What is it about families, bro, that didn't want you? Like, my mom's was the same way. She didn't want me to watch it, but I watched it. I watched it. I had to see what kind of trouble Bart was going to get into, how Homer was going to make me laugh, how the granddad was going to make me laugh. Like, it was, The Simpsons was another one, man.
Yes.
And then I had to get my comedy in from Martin. Like, that was like the core shows at the time.
And then what was that?
Fresh Prince for me.
South Park.
Oh my gosh. Parents tried. It was like Eminem. Parents didn't want you listening to Eminem, but you know what I mean? I had to get South Park in. You had to get South Park in, but definitely The Simpsons, bro. Definitely The Simpsons, man. This is a huge law. Like I said, if you grew up in the 90s, you know what I mean? If you came through that era, this one impacted you.
Yeah.
This one definitely impacts you.
Yes. My kids, and when we was watching it, oh my God.
Look at the quality.
Exactly. Look how old it is.
I was like, word, bro. I gave you a two-piece to the chin, fam. Don't talk about the quality it was back then.
I'm serious.
You know, you knew
that was it.
You knew those shows when they came on by their intro music.
Yes.
You knew what show you was finna get into, and you was rocking in front of the TV. You was, you know what I mean? Like, man, this one, that's tough, bro.
Yes.
It's tough.
It is.
It's tough, man. It
hurts.
Yeah, man. Like, and we mourn them like he was our family member.
Yeah. It's like it hurts. And I'm like, dang, if it bothers us, and again, they're stars to us, you know?
But that's a credit to how good he was at his craft.
Right.
How good he was.
And how universal, because like I said, you know, he could go from the dad to the comedian to, you know, like they say, you know, more risky stuff. And, you know.
I didn't see none of the later stuff that he did.
I didn't either.
He will forever be known as Danny Tanner.
Yeah.
That whole little situation, man. You know what I mean?
The house was full. It was full, like, for real. I'm like,
house was full.
Yeah, man. I'm like, how many square feet was that house? That house is dope.
That's another thing, man. Just looking at them and inspiring. That's what I did with, like, the Cosbys. You know what I'm saying? They set the benchmark of how you wanted to grow up and have a family like that. You know what I mean? You wanted to be the doctor or the lawyer, like Claire was the lawyer, or the doctor, like
go
Cliff.
Off to school.
Go to Princeton. I didn't even know Princeton was a real school when I was watching that show. Like, they made you aspire to be better.
Or Rudy.
You know what I mean?
She need money again? No, she figured it out. It's like different episodes is just etched in your brain, and you just like channel surf through them all. So
yeah, man, this was definitely a hard loss, man.
absolutely.
Continue to rest in peace, Bob Saget, man. This is
Prayers
definitely
out to
sad.
his family.
Again, prayers to his family and prayers to all of us, man, because we were his extended family. So
Yes.
y'all get at us in the comment section, man. This one is rough.